Introduction. Recent studies have concluded that over the next 20 years, the aviation industry can expect a sharp increase in flights. With a growing need for efficient aviation efforts to lower overall carbon consumption, looking for conventional jet fuel alternatives, and the dangers for efficient aviation if power shortages persist. I chose this topic as I never thought of aviation as a hazard to our natural environment and was compelled to write this report on the effects of aviation on us today. With the ongoing need for pilots to keep up with consumer demand and the pilot retirement problem, aviation leaders are put in a tough spot. In fact, a recent study by Boeing reveals that more than 637,000 new pilots are needed in the next 20 years. Keep in mind that there are 333,000 pilots globally, which is about a half of what is needed at the very least by 2045. Now, this ongoing pilot shortage will have devastating effects on not only how consumers travel from place to place, but also the economy. The danger? A pilot shortage could ultimately slow industry recovery, which could temper economic growth worldwide. Thanks to the pilot shortage, consumers can expect a declining economy if airlines don't keep up with public demand through passenger travel and cargo on a global scale. This shortage of pilots must be dealt with accordingly, or consumers will face the consequences. Solutions companies are implementing to battle this issue. Pilots are being given an opportunity to get paid more. With this shortage, companies are lowering requirements for applying to be a pilot, making it more accessible to the public. This system has really had a positive effect on the new airline pilots, making it easier to climb up the airline ladder without having to endure low wages. Big aviation companies have also taken to extreme measures of building their own training programs for recruitment. If this issue isn't dealt with, there will be major cuts in aircraft fleets and a buffer on efficient aviation efforts. Aviation today has many negative impacts on the environment and the people. Residents nearby airports even have a greater chance of getting a lung disease due to the emissions emitted. In a recent joint study by Columbia University and the University of California, scientists found that the incidence of asthma and respiratory diseases like COPD was on average 17% higher among those living within 6 miles of an airport. Another problem is the fuel used throughout flights. With planes burning $800 to $1,000 per hour, airlines need an efficient way to use fuel throughout flights. Carbon emissions emitted by aircraft are very high. With this in mind, airplane manufacturers have taken to new methods in responding to the growing problem. Manufacturers are increasingly using cutting-edge materials and technologies to deliver exceptional gains in environmental performance. This keeps residents nearby safe from the emitted emissions. These airlines are also investing in more advanced technologies to efficiently use fuel. Air France and Norwegian Airlines have signed up to use Skybreathe, an AI technology which analyzes flight operations to reduce fuel consumption. This has saved the airlines tens of millions of dollars. The aviation industry must develop new and efficient innovations to lower the carbon footprint emitted by aircraft globally. In efficient aviation, the most important aspect is the fuel used. As 30% of airline costs are used on fuel alone, the aviation industry invests a considerable amount on alternatives to conventional jet fuel. A jet fuel alternative researchers have found are biofuels/sustainable aviation fuels. Whilst the price for sustainable aviation fuels is generally between 3 and 5 times higher than that of conventional jet fuel, it provides a loss for airlines looking for a more efficient solution to the environmentally harmful Jet A1, as well as still producing carbon at 20%. Industry invests a considerable amount on alternatives to the conventional jet fuel, such as sustainable aviation fuels and biofuels. There's still another alternative fuel to Jet A1, synthetic fuels. One significant advantage is that the process removes carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Another successful alternative to conventional jet fuels could be hydrogen. Hydrogen is superior because it removes carbon dioxide emissions entirely. If used in aircraft, it could bring net zero. Although planes would have to be completely redesigned, there would have to be advancements in storage and advances in infrastructure. The aviation industry is changing in response to the threat of global warming, researching jet fuel alternatives, developing technologies to efficiently use jet fuel sustainably, and responding to the ongoing threat of a pilot shortage on the global economy built on aviation. A few years ago, aviation was a revolution changing the modern world. Today, consumers see aviation as a hazard to the environment they live in. What other industries might become hazardous to the environment in the future? This project has strengthened my in understanding of sustainability, community, and the future. I see the need for material conservation in the aviation fuel. I see how aviation has affected our community, the infrastructure built upon it, and how that has had many pros and cons on our environment and people. I see the future that is built on aviation, with efficiency leading the industry, a future where I can safely board a plane without worrying about the environmental impacts. Aviation leaders are envisioning this future, already having taken many steps on approaching the problem.